Back to Formula One 2018. It is time for practice 2. I'm sorry I'm a little bit behind schedule, but at this point, you might expect it. Alrighty. Well, they've turned the lights on here at Bahrain, and it's time for some night driving. We didn't quite get good enough on the fuel management practice program, as you'll remember from last night. So, I guess we'll try again. Extra fuel required, 1.9 laps. Well, we'll double check that after I make another run. In fact, we'll average it out. I'm going to make a note of that right here. Just a second. That is the most left-handed I've ever wrote in my life. Anyways, let's try it again.
The car settings screen on your multi-function display will allow you to change various settings as you drive.
Yes, I know it
Open
will.
the display with the MFD button. You can then navigate up and down to the setting you want to change.
A bit like a rubber out on track. Try to take it easy for a couple of laps.
Yay, the internet's back. Hopefully my internet lasts through this. Alright, we're under the lights now in Bahrain. One of 2 night races on the Formula One schedule. Yeah, I think that might have been what did it. Alright, so basically going to try to keep the fuel consumption down. As you could kind of tell by that graph, I was spending 65% of the lap at full throttle, which apparently is not good. I would need 2 laps extra fuel, which is a ridiculous amount. And that would mean I'd be heavier than every other car on the grid. And be on the back foot before anything even started. But if I can get a good starting position, I wouldn't really care. It is nighttime, that's why I said night racing. Under the lights in Bahrain. In the desert. Alright, let's see what we can't mess up. Well, messed up that corner. Went into a tank slapper through turn 3, but kept it out of the runoff areas, much less out of the wall. I don't think I'm going to be under the pace lap. At least not this lap. So as things sit right now, tonight, after class, about the same time I started streaming yesterday, we'll be practice 3, this is practice 2, and qualifying. That is the plan. Oh, I might actually make the pace lap.
decent lap there, but there's still more to find. Keep at it.
I tried coasting down the front straightaway, but that would have messed me up for this lap, so I didn't want to coast too much. But I'll take a green lap. I was hoping for purple. As you may or may not be able to hear, I'm kind of coasting through the S's, trying to save a little bit of fuel. Here's the big coasting spot. I was hoping that would push me over to the purple, but it didn't, of course. All over the place through turn 11 there. Let's see if we can't make a lot of difference here. Oh, I went under pace.
That lap was no good.
I coasted too much. Ah, it would have been a green lap too. I was trying so hard for purple, I wound up getting a red. Speaking of red, I got a Ferrari coming up on my tail. And I think, well, more or less hope that he's on an outlap. Even though he's still faster than me, apparently. Old Kimmy coming up on my tail. I don't think I've hit the apex of turn 11 this session yet. Sorry there, Kimmy, I'm on fuel saving mode. And you're gonna completely mess me up here, ain't you? I can't save fuel to save my life. Result, good fuel saving, right. Basically, I'm gonna take what they got, like what they suggested extra fuel-wise from the first session run of this, and then the second session I'm gonna average it out.
There's only one lap.
And I might run it a couple more times. Box this lap.
Okay, we can take you this lap.
So I would say that was a halfway decent. And that's all the practice programs and race trim that we can get done. Have to go to qualifying trim for the other.
You're nearly out of fuel. Almost out
I
of
know
fuel.
I'm almost out of
The next
fuel.
2 laps.
I'm not dumb. So we're gonna come in, maybe put it in qualifying trim. Run one qualifying pace lap.
Come in this
And
lap,
then see
please.
what's
Box
what.
this lap.
I'm planning on it. I told you, and then you told me twice to do it. And now a third time. That's another thing, is speeding in the pits. I need to figure that one out. That one was decent breaking into the pits. And when I say decent, I in fact mean terrible. I was down to like 30 miles an hour. I need to be right at 50, right at the line is optimal, but I don't think that's going to happen. Now let's start averaging some stuff out. Look at me going above and beyond to do some maths. So they said I needed 1.9 laps extra off that set. Off the first run, so I'm going to put 1.9 run 1. See what run 2 says. It says half a lap to the good. I'm going to run that one again at least once and see what happens. Qualifying pace. They don't really want me doing this.
I know it's tempting to focus entirely on the race, but we should put a bit of time aside to run the qualifying sim program. Try to run it before the end of FP3 if you can.
They try to keep me from running the engine too hard in practice too. That was sloppy. What was sloppy about it? Well, let's go ahead and
All clear the garage, please. Car
do a
ready to
qualifying sim. Why not? We'll do qualifying trim and practice too and see how fast we go. Under the lights, so it is racing conditions. And you have to remember, I'll have Mix 4 available come actual qualifying time, so it'll be a little bit faster. And I might have the wings fine-tuned a bit more and the suspension and whatnot. But their goal is 15th, and I think I can make that. Can't remember what last session's best lap was. Best lap update.
So far, our fastest lap is a 1:35.3.
I can't remember if that's from this session or last session. I'm hoping that's just from this session, because we'd be 4 seconds off of Kimmy if that's the truth. Because he ran a 1:31 if I remember right. Fastest lap overall.
Say that again, we're having trouble receiving.
Fastest lap overall.
The fastest lap of the race so far is a 1:31.8.
Alright, here we go. Let's do some qualifying sim. You're going to tell me to run this program, and then halfway through it, you're going to tell me to turn the engine down, I bet. 1:32.955 is what they want me to run? Eesh. Well, that ain't the lap that's going to do it. Way overshot the braking zone into 1. I'm actually creeping up on a green delta. Creeping away from it after running wide there. Oh yeah, held that corner flat out. And then overran. Into the gravel, of course. It's good to know these tires will actually hold well.
down on our target time.
And,
Let's try to find a bit more.
Yeah. Entry speed way up on 1, so I'm overshooting the braking zone. That's the issue I'm having. At least that's the excuse I'm going to use. I'm going to run out of ERS before the end of this lap, ain't I? Doesn't really matter because I'm a full 3/10 off of the lap they want me at. Well, that might help. Actually making turn 11. And staying on track there. I know there's only one other person watching this. What do you want me to do about it? Buy an ad slot on Google?
Final lap.
Hey!
This is the final lap of the program.
Well, funny you should say that there, Tex, because I'm out of ERS. So this lap's going to be running down on motor. But second on the time charts, I'll take it. It's somebody who will not reveal their identity, apparently. Oh boy. Way off through 9 and 10. Onto the rumble strip. That's definitely going to hurt. Well, I say that, but I'm within... Well, no, I'm not within 3/10 anymore. Being out of ERS makes a big difference. But being able to go flat out up turn 12 makes a big difference as well. Oh yeah, Tokyo drifting. I left a trail of gravel down the track, didn't I? See, the thing is, the added grip from these tires allows me to push it harder into the corner.
Alright, that's the program complete. This is some decent data, although far from optimal. It could still be worth running again.
Okay, wait a minute. Estimated grid place 20th, even though I ran a lap that was predicted to be 13th. But they're going to count the 2 that I ran red in. But on the fuel program I just ran, they're taking the best lap. It seems like this one they're taking the worst lap. That's bass-ackwards. Box this lap.
Right, come in at the end of this lap.
Yeehaw! Getting a little tail happy on me. I don't know why I'm whipping these tires so much. I should be laying back. Save these tires for later in the session when I can just go out and lay down a bunch of fast laps.
Less than a lap of fuel now. The tank is empty. Box this
I
lap, please.
know
Box
the
this
tank
lap.
is empty if you don't shut up about frickin' fuel. I can't actually literally tell him to shut up. Okay, down to 34, I'll take it. I would rather be doing that than speeding by a little bit I'd rather be doing 34 than 51, because if you speed on pit road during the race or qualifying it's a grid penalty drop race, depending on how much you speed by. It's either come in for a stop and go penalty or just a time penalty. So, at this point, we are out of programs to run. We've passed them all with flying colors mostly. Take a look at this. Average fuel burn, race fuel load, 104.04 kilograms. I'm going to write that down just in case.
So far, our fastest lap is a 1:32.7.
So I can remember that for during the race. And I'm going to run fuel management one more time, just to get another number. I want to do a third run. If you couldn't tell, Formula One is a lot more of a math and strategy game than NASCAR is. I mean, NASCAR is to an extent, especially because of the level playing field they have, but Formula One is a lot more meticulous in what they calculate and whatnot. And they will spend, I kid you not, they will spend 4 hours waxing the car to shave 100th off a lap time, 100th of a second. Because yes, waxing a car does make a difference on its aerodynamics. How smooth the clear coat is makes a big difference, because they use actual paint in Formula One. It's not just dyed carbon fiber with vinyl stickers on it. They actually paint these cars. As compared to basically any other form of racing, it's where they just buy a colored body panel and then slap some vinyl on it. Like, they talk about quote-unquote paint schemes in NASCAR, when really it's a computer-generated, printed-out vinyl graphic that they just slap onto the car and heat shrink. Not on super soft, so you can't take it like you are. Alright, here we go. So now this run through fuel management, I'm just going to run the way I would during race conditions. And see how much fuel we burn. I'm not going to worry about red, green, or purple, or lap times. I'm just going to run the way I would if it was the race. Which is really the way you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to be watching the ticker the whole time. You're supposed to be just running it the way you would so they can get an idea on the pit box of how much fuel you're going to need. And really, it is to teach you to spend less, but you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I do the full Ryan Newman style of driving of race every lap like it's the last lap, which gets me in trouble sometimes, but I feel like that driving style fits Formula One a lot better, not just because of the shorter races, just the style of Formula One is just give it your all every lap, whereas NASCAR, there's the strategy of wait to push till the end and all that. And looking up there, I've not gone red on the time delta at all. And I don't exactly want to look to the future yet as far as what race is next. I kind of want to get this one done because it's looking like I might actually have a shot at the points. That's another thing I like about Formula One compared to NASCAR is the way they hand out championship points. The fact that they don't have the playoff system like NASCAR, and it's just who has the most points at the end of the season, still winds up having some crazy battles, even though it was decided before the end of the season last year. But there's still some tight battles throughout the season, and even up towards the end. But the way that Formula One hands down points, only the top 10 get points. So if you talk about, if you hear me, or if you watch Formula One and you hear a commentator talk about they're in the points or they're out of the points, it's the top 10 finishers in the race get points. And I do believe you get a bonus point for the pole lap time. Yeah, you get a bonus point if you get pole position, and you get a bonus point if you finish in the top 10 and have the fastest lap of the race. So there's some strategy that plays out in that as far as championship points, and whatever points go to the driver in the race also go to the team, just like at NASCAR. And at the end of the season, there's the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship, and the Constructors' Championship goes to whichever team has the most points from their two drivers. And Formula One teams are only allowed 2 cars in each race, whereas NASCAR teams are only allowed 4 cars in each race. They have multiple drivers, like backup drivers and stuff, but only 2 can be on track at a time. And if a driver changes teams in the middle of the season, the points follow the driver,
Okay, you weren't quite good enough that
not
round.
necessarily the car, but they stick with the team. So say Lewis Hamilton, for some unknown reason, went to Ferrari in the middle of the season. His points that he earned for Mercedes would stick with Mercedes, but the points that he earned for Mercedes would also follow him to Ferrari, so he wouldn't be starting out from scratch just for changing teams. That's killing my fuel consumption running wide there at turn 4. 5, 6, 7, the S's. Turn 8, slow you down for this little short shoot. Down to 9 and 10. 9, you just don't really worry about hitting the apex because you need to get set up for 10, and there I missed the apex. Back in, stepped out a little bit. Down the back straightaway. There's a lap of Bahrain halfway through it. And then into turn 11 and turn 12, the big swooping S up the hill. Alright, there's the sector 2 line into sector 3. Turn 13, that turns you back around, sends you back down the hill on this little straightaway to 14 and 15 and puts you back on the pit straight. Alright, so we had a green lap and then one on the borderline and then one deep in the red, so I feel like that's more accurate as to what I'm going to use in the race. So we'll turn it down. We'll stick with mode 2, but mix 1 just for an in lap. Box this lap.
Pitting this lap then. Come into the pits at the end of this lap.
I feel like Lauren stopped watching. I just have that funny feeling. Because she hasn't said anything in quite a while. And I get it, practice sessions are kind of boring. Unless you really know what's going on.
There's only 1 lap of fuel remaining.
Fewer updates.
Got that confirmed.
Didn't exactly tell him to shut up, but I told him to stop talking as much. Because dang, dude.
Come in this lap, please. Box this lap.
I'm resting my controller in my hands on the TV tray in front of me, and I have the top of the TV tray set on the steel toe of my boot, and when the controller vibrates, it actually shakes my foot, and it actually almost gives it a sense of realism, like I can feel the shaking in my foot. I think it's pretty cool. That's another thing about Formula One is they have a pit limiter button. That's what the P gear means down there. And it will keep them from speeding on pit road. And I think NASCAR should implement it. Kurt Busch, famous NASCAR driver, agrees with me on that. Says it'll make pit road safer. But leaving it controlled by the drivers who don't have a speedometer, mind you, kind of adds another layer to the race. Well, they're saying minimum fuel race load 100.74 kilograms using 1.77 per lap. Let me do the math really quick. 1.77. Or actually, I'm going to try and find out how many laps are in the race. There is a reserve tank. Let that be known, but you do go into limp mode when you start using it. So 57 laps, something like that.
So far, our fastest lap is a 1 minute 32.7.
132.7. So this page says 100.74, whereas this page says 104.04. I like the 104.04 a little bit better, but because that'll give me extra to push. This is if I stay in mix 2 the whole race and race every lap like I did, the average of those three, I will need 100.74 to make it to the finish line from the grid. I don't really trust it. So I'm going to kind of write down both numbers, the 100.74 and the 104.04, and then I'm going to average them out, and basically run it again. I might run this one again. I think we're going to run this practice program again. We're going to see what it says after that. I've wrote it down now, and then we will see. Because yeah, this is saying 1.82, and this is saying 1.77 kilograms of fuel per lap, and it's weighed, not measured in gallons or liters or anything like that. So I think I'm going to run this program again, just to get another number, and then I'm going to kind of shoot for the middle for what I run for the race, because we're doing race trim right now, and then practice 3, you change to the event gearbox, so it is all go or go home. In fact, I believe excuse me, I'm drawing a blank. What is it? Power unit? No. What word am I looking for? Oh, yeah. I think Mix 4. Sorry. I was just a huge brain fart there. I believe Mix 4 is unlocked in Practice 3. I don't know. I didn't have much time at Practice 3 at Australia before I bit the wall. But, yeah, I think I'm going to run this again. Going to keep running the same set of softs. I like to just wear out one set before I move to the next, because the two most worn sets at the end of each practice session get sent back. And that's of your practice tires. Your six sets of practice tires for the weekend. You cannot use the qualifying ones in practice. You can only use those 6. And the 2 most worn at the end of each session go back. And you cannot mix and match sets, so I can't put worn softs on the front and fresh softs on the back, or fresh softs and fresh super softs or anything like that. And that's not just in this game, that's in the real world of Formula 1. You're not allowed to do that. So I'm going to run 5 laps on Mix 2 Mode 2, just, baseline settings as I like to call it. So basically not trying to overtake anybody, not trying to hold anybody off, just usual normal race pace laps. Gonna do 5 of those, lay them out on these worn softs, and we shall see how much fuel this program tells me I need. Because right now we're getting mixed signals from different sections of the team. And for some reason the audio in my headphones is buffering all of a sudden. The game was buffering when I loaded it up. Like the loading screen was buffering even. Like the intro, I don't know if any of you have played F1 2018, but like where they play the theme song and the lights go out and it says Codemasters and all that, that was buffering. For some reason. what I did there was completely overshoot the braking zone for turn 13. Knock on wood, I've only overran into the runoff area in 13 once, and a couple times in 11 this session, and then a couple times in turn 1 across both sessions. Oh, I forgot I have a target lap time for this. That could be an issue. Especially on these worn tires. I hope they bring they take the worn tires into account. I have a feeling they do, because when I've tried to do practice programs on the non-intended tire compound, it changes the target lap time. I've experimented with that before. Like I said, I got another career playthrough that I'm about halfway through the first season. I'm racing for Force India. I haven't touched that career mode in quite a while, but it is, at this point, more of an experimental career mode for this career mode. And it is a bit more unrealistic because I was using it to fine-tune difficulty settings and assist settings as to what I need and all. Right now I'm not really worried about setting my fastest lap times of the practice session. That'll be after I run this practice program. We'll smack the super softs back on, run a few good flying laps, and then we'll see what's what. Basically do some qualifying trim minus the practice program.
Great lap. You've nailed what we asked for. Keep it up.
Or actually, I'm not gonna run full qualifying trim because I don't want to wear out my engine, and not necessarily the practice transmission, but don't want to wear out the power unit, because the power unit is used over all sessions in the weekend, and I only get, in a sense, 2 complete power units for the whole season, and there's 21 races. Some of the components can be replaced twice, so I have 3 of them for the whole season, but still, to be replacing stuff the second week is just, that's a Red Bull thing. I don't know if any of you watched the 2018 Formula 1 season, but Red Bull had power unit issues like crazy. They had used their 3 full power units by about the halfway point in the season. They were just blowing up engines left and right, which, to be honest, that's what happens when a watch company supplies your power units. Those of you who don't know, Tag Heuer, yes, the watch company supplied the power units for Aston Martin Red Bull Racing last season. This season, I do believe they're running Honda, just like Toro Rosso. I think. I've been wrong before. Ran a bit wide there, but it wasn't anything terrible.
Okay, super job so far.
Average fuel usage 1.79, average tire wear 2.3. Actually catching up Carlos Sainz. Whoa, what happened there in turn 4? Wasn't paying attention. Every once in a while I do get distracted because I do have the chat over in the corner, and while nobody's chatting right now, I do have my form of having the chat pulled up in the corner is I have my phone set up on a stand, actually with running the stream. So that's putting a toll on my internet, but it's how I can read the chat and not clog up the screen with it. Because I like to have the whole screen covered with, you know, the game. And I could put my face on there, but my stupid face would show up over the lap times, so you guys wouldn't be able to read them. Unless I put the whole chat bar on there, and I don't want to do that. Like I said, I like to... The sound just buffered for some reason again. As long as it's just the sound buffering and not the whole game itself. Alright, Carlos, speed it up a bit. I know I'm running like, yeah, literally.
Great lap. You've nailed what we asked for. Keep it
So
up.
1.79, 2.48 still. You can drive extra laps to improve the accuracy of the data. Yeah, I'll run the other 2 laps. I got tire left. I think it said something like 22 laps on these tires left out of 30. And that's for the optimal tire. That's before the tire cliff, where the lap times and the grip levels really fall off. Where you have to start worrying about punctures and stuff. Holy cow, the back end stepped out there. And the sound started buffering. It's chopping up quite a bit. I'm just outrunning the sound is what it is. I'm too fast for the audio settings. I mean, look at that. I'm above Lewis Hamilton right now, and I haven't even... Well, I guess I did run qualifying. Okay, so I have actually pushed. But again, they predicted that would be 13th place. But then again, not a lot of people run qualifying trim in practice too, so I'm like the only person that's ran a qualifying lap, a mock qualifying lap. Now I'm starting to believe Lucky on what she's telling me on I just talk too fast, but it's genetic. Because sometimes I don't even understand myself, or I can even tell that I say stuff too fast, like where I tried to say mock there.
Okay, super job so far. We're getting great data. Stay focused.
3 seconds off of my fastest lap, and I ran a, what, 134 or something? Sure. I'll look at the time scales when I pull back in the pits, and we'll really do some figuring up, and then I'll run some laps on the Super Softs. The scrub Super Softs that I already have. Whoa, back in kicking out. What am I doing? Shortcutting every single apex. Looks like a few more, judging by the black marks on the road, a few more people are pushing it harder in this session. Another thing I like about this camera angle is I can still use the rear view mirrors a little bit. Like that left mirror, and I'm sure if I made that drop down in the corner disappear, I'd be able to. Yeah, you can see my wear indications there. My internal combustion engine's already at 18% wear. My gearbox is at 22% wear. And again, penalties are handed out once you start using extra gearboxes and such. Nah, I can't really use that mirror because the halo gets in the way. The only thing the halo actually gets in the way of. Box this lap.
Confirmed. We'll receive you at the end of this lap.
I feel like everybody that was talking bad about the halo, all that stuff went out the window when it saved Leclerc's life at Spa last year. I mean, everybody was, oh, it's ugly. It ruins the aesthetics of the car. But then it actually did the job it was supposed to, and everybody went, oh, well, I guess it works, so we can't really complain about it. But IndyCar's like, no, we're too good for it. I mean, yeah, I understand it would block the driver's view in a high bank situation, but not every race on the Indy schedule is high banks. There's a few road course races, there's flat tracks, excuse me, stuff like that. So, I mean, there's no point.
There's only one lap of fuel remaining.
I
Box this
know,
lap, please.
I'm
Box
coming in this lap. Slowed way down for it that time, but at least I made it in. That's one thing I should do is this next run out, I'll talk you through that little bottom right hand corner display. The telemetry the little bit of telemetry that's displayed on it. Kind of explain that. I thought about running for Williams in this career playthrough, but I didn't really want to be hanging out at the end of the at the back of the pack. So that's why that didn't happen. You know, I might wind up calling it quits early on this practice session if I run out of tires. So now it's saying race fuel load, expected usage per lap, 1.82. Average fuel burn of 1.79. Whereas this one said 1.77, which is below both of those numbers. And I'm going to err on the side of caution. It's early in the season, I'm running conservative. And it's saying 101.92, or is this one saying 100.74? So I'm going to take the 101.92 and the 104.04 from earlier. And I'm going to average those out, and that's going to be our fuel load for the race. I'm not going to run any of those programs again because it'll just be too many numbers and it'll confuse me. And I'm going to run out of tires before I'm done with it. Done getting as much as I'd like, so I'm just going to stick with what I have. And wow, we're already halfway through this practice session. So 104. Hold on while I do the maths here. And 101.92. So we're going to run 102.98 kilograms of fuel in the race. That's what I'm running. I'm going to pin that up on the board. Now,
our best lap so far is a 132.7.
132.7. That's actually not bad. That's faster than I thought it was. That being said, let's look at timing. So we don't have to worry about this page anymore. We've done all the math off of it that we can, and we've done all the team objectives and all the R&D objectives because there are none. So, and the setup feels good. I'm sure I could go in and tweak it a little bit, but again, running on the conservative side, I'm just going to trust the team on their preset that they gave me with a little bit of wing tweak to give me a little bit more rear downforce than, because I mean it skips between each of those presets, it skips 2 spots on the wing instead of 1, and I kind of wanted the middle ground on the rear but the faster on the front, because you don't really need as much front downforce as they give you in the balanced, but I'm sure by the end of the season I'll be comfortable enough with the car, and there will be some tracks that I'll run the preset number 5, the fastest like flat wing setup. Probably Paul Ricard in France, because that's a good flat-out track. Look at our power unit wear. Overall wear, 13%, 400 lap. Lifespan expected left, 488 was what we started out with. So we've run 88 laps. So predicted 400 laps left on it. That's good. Should be able to make it to a third of the way through the season before we have to start changing stuff out, because this is at 18, that's at 13, that's at 15. As you can see, the higher wearing components, you're allowed 3. They did calculate that in. Gearbox wise, practice gearbox, unit 1 of 1, and we're second weekend of the season, and we're already at 22%, and we didn't even put that much time on it the first weekend. So, more gearboxes. I can't remember if there's a penalty for this. I'm going to double check. Okay, so there is no penalty for a second gearbox, second practice gearbox, but I'm sure there's one for this. Like we read yesterday, as per article 23.5, event gearbox must be used 6 consecutive race weekends through P3 qualifying and the race. And we're 1 of 6. So, let's look at timings. Wrong thing, this one. We're way ahead of Fernando. And by way ahead, I mean we're the only one out of the McLaren team that's run a mock qualifying lap. Just about a second off of Raikkonen at a 132.767 to his 131.816. Raikkonen's teammate Vettel is faster in Sector 3, though. As far as to each sector, we are, what, 6/10 off Kimi-ish in 1, 4/10 off in Sector 2, and only 1/10 off in Sector 3. So yes, Sector 3 is the easiest sector on the track. There's only 2 braking zones and 2 acceleration zones to get down, and 3 turns in that whole sector. So it's an easy one to nail. So that's why we're within a second of them. And if you look down the list, most of everybody's within a second of it. We do, in fact, have the most laps out of anybody by a long shot. Well, I guess Hulkenberg has 10. Stroll has 11. I stand corrected as I scroll down the way. But they don't really count. So, what now? Track is really busy right now. I'm going to try to time it so I get out between Stroll and Hulkenberg. Stroll's coming up the hill now. So we're going to run out. Oh, crap. I'm not going to beat him out. We're going to run out. On Super Softs.
We're ready.
Run a few faster laps. See if we can improve, which we won't because I'm not going to go to full mixing mode because I don't want to blow the engine apart just yet. Just thinking about it, we ran probably, what, a good 40 laps already, at least in practice 1, and then add the few that we ran here, and that power unit still has to do 400 more laps before we can replace it. And 21 divided by 3 is not an even number. Or wait a minute. Yes, it is. 7. I'm stupid. Don't mind me, I'm dumb. So it needs to make it 7 weekends, and we're on weekend 2. So I don't exactly want to whip it yet. I could do the quick math of what 48 divided by 7, or 488 divided by 7 is to see how many weekends I can go. On that gearbox, or on that power unit. Now another thing that's going to cause these lap times to be slower is I have a heavier fuel load. I have 11 laps worth of fuel, well down to 10 now because I did an outlap. But 10 laps worth of fuel is a lot heavier than 3 laps or even like 2 laps worth of fuel, so it's going to slow me down a wee bit. But it all makes a difference in the world of Formula 1. So we're going to bump this up to ERS mode 4 for this lap. And then adjust as we go. Going to keep it in mix 2 because I don't want to blow the rods apart. You can hear the floor bottoming out down the straightaway. That does scrub off a little bit of speed because of the added friction. These super soft tires do have a lot better grip, so I can throw them through the corners a little bit better. Even though they are scrub tires, these definitely have more grip. Even these like 4-lap old super softs have more grip than the brand new softs. Or actually, I bet they're about on the same level. And I'm used to driving around on worn softs, so that's one of the incredible things about tire wear and stuff in any racing series in general is you don't realize you slowly adjust each lap for the tire wear, and then you get a newer set of tires and you don't realize how worn they were until you put on a new set and then you run, you know, a second faster. Felt the back end getting a little bit slidey through there. Felt really slidey through 13 there. Whoa, way overshooting 14.
The time last lap was a 1 minute 34.0.
My best is 1:32.767. You can hear the bottoming out a little bit more. You're back! Is this still qualifying? It never was qualifying. I was just in qualifying trim to get an idea of where I'll stack up in qualifying. This is still practice. Tonight, after I get off class, will be practice 3 in qualifying. Why did I hit the brakes there? Wow, I broke focus big time. That's another thing about running the stream in the corner is I have a little bit of a delay so I can look over out of the corner of my eye and watch myself make stupid mistakes. Really helpful. I'm gonna bump it down to ERS 2 for a lap or two to just regen some power and then bump it back up in a couple laps. Still gonna stay on engine mix 2 to keep from blowing the rods out the bottom too early in the season. Because I don't exactly want to face the grid penalties and engine issues that Red Bull actually faced in the 2018 season. Alright, I was going to talk you through the telemetry down in the bottom right hand corner. Basically, the green bar around the number 5 right now, it's about to be number 6, and then back through the numbers. The green bar is how much throttle input, it's the throttle trace. The red bar below it is the brake trace, if you couldn't figure that out yet. And then miles per hour is obvious, it's miles per hour. The lights across the top that light up are the tachometer basically, along with the RPM counter, the rev counter, which you can see I'm shifting at about 12,000 RPM because the power band of these 1.6 liter V6s is about 10,000 to 12,000 RPM, which is a few thousand more than NASCAR runs, but nowhere near what Formula One itself used to run back when they were revving V10s out to 24,000 RPM. The bars down at the bottom, the white bar, as much as I know, is what the MGU-K, which we talked about yesterday, how much power it's harvesting. The H bar is the MGU-H, how much it's harvesting. The percentage in the middle and the blue bar just above those two bars is the ERS itself. The blue box with the number 2 in the lightning bolt is what ERS mode I'm in, and I need to turn it down because it's still not regenerating enough. The fuel light to the left of that ERS mode button, or ERS mode square, is low fuel, and the wrench icon is to tell me if my pit box is empty or full, because teams share a pit box. Both cars pit in the same box. So when it's red, that means Alonso's using it and I can't. When it's green, that means I've requested to pit and it is open for me. When it's clear, it means I'm not using it. And then on the far right, you can see right now where it says DRS check mark. That means the DRS is open. It'll be, I think, yellow, amber colored when it's can be open and isn't. And when I'm coming up on a DRS zone, it'll actually start to fill up as a distance meter to tell me how far from the DRS zone I am. And I'm going to have to turn off ERS for a lap or so to really store up some. And I never looked to see how many laps left of life I had on these tires. Yeah, you can see there it's counting down the meters. till the DRS zone.
The time last lap was a 1:34.8.
So I'm laying down some consistent laps, all in the 134 range, which is 2 seconds off my fastest and about 3 seconds off the fastest lap of the session, set by Raikkonen. As far as I know, it's still Raikkonen, Vettel, Verstappen, me, and Hamilton. And the fact that I'm up there among the best 6 is quite astonishing, as opposed to last session where we were the best of the rest. Now we're up in the mix. But then again, that's because, once again, I ran qualifying trim and they haven't. And yes, I ran it early, but I just wanted to get it done in case I all of a sudden had the string of bad luck with the way my days have been going here lately. And wound up, back in, stepping out a bit, wound up crashing out. I wanted to make sure I got the stuff done before I crashed out. But yeah, I probably should have checked to see how many laps are left on these. Although, vehicle condition.
Going off the sim data, we expect you're going to start feeling the effect of tyre wear around about now. Let us know if it gets too bad. Degradation is pretty bad. The grip is going to fall away quickly. Your brakes are at a good operating temperature.
Fuel information.
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
I love this. Just being able to ask stuff.
The fastest lap at this point in time is a 1:31.8.
Gonna run one more at ERS 0. Session update.
So just ahead of us in this session at the moment are Raikkonen, Vettel and Verstappen, and we're in front of Hamilton, Grosjean and Perez. Currently the fastest lap is a 1:31.8.
And another thing, I'm not sure if it's been programmed into this game, but Mercedes and Ferrari and Red Bull like to play the game of saving the full potential of the car to qualifying 3. So that's why guys like me, Grosjean, and Perez are up in the top 6. It's because we've actually run, the lower level teams will run qualifying trim in practice too, like I did. But the upper teams will still run just race trim and go out there and, by their standards, just dawdle around for a few laps in each practice session. But still wind up sitting the fastest because that's just how above and beyond they are. So we're going to turn it up to overtake again this lap. Mode 4. I'm going to save mode 5. Actually, you know what? Screw it. We're going mode 5. Because the electric motor does not feel the effects of wear as much as the V6 does. So we can whip the crap out of the ERS in practice and not have to worry about failure as soon as if we just ran the engine in rich all the time. Because while a lean engine runs hotter, the rich engine would be set to run faster, and the faster and harder you run the engine, the quicker it blows out. And the lean, standard, and rich in this game is not anywhere near the true definition of lean and rich. It's just leaning towards the rich side and leaning towards the lean side. Because true lean engine is the one that starts to pop holes in pistons and stuff. But that's when you go super lean. Yee-hoo-hoo! Nice spin out. In fact, let's watch the replay on that one. That was fun. I like being able to spin out and still have the confidence that I'm going to keep a hold of it. I want to see this from TV camera perspective. That was... I love having runoff area because that was fun. Just Tokyo drifting out of the corner. I mean, it wasn't fun because, you know, Oh, look how much damage that front wing has just from sitting out front and scraping the floor. And yeah, it wasn't too much fun because it wrecked that flying lap I was on, but it wasn't exactly terrible because I didn't hit the wall. I was much more happy to slide to the outside of that corner than to the inside of that corner like I usually do. So, tire fall off has occurred, obviously. But as you can see, the tire cliff is nowhere near puncture time on the tires, which is why you can really push the tires a lot further, but it's not worth it. Because you basically run out of grip and you're just sliding around and you're gaining your, well, I guess losing. It's a higher number, but you're losing time on your lap time so much you might as well have come into pit. Because a pit stop takes usually anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds, and it'll get to the point where you're losing about 15 seconds a lap, and as you can tell, or even 5 seconds a lap. 4 laps on worn tires equals 1 lap where you could have came in, got new tires, and then ran much faster lap times on new tires for 3 laps as opposed to 4 laps at 5 seconds a lap slower. Which is where undercut and a whole bunch of different strategies come into play. But yeah, basically, tire wear is a real big thing, and as you can tell, the rear tires seem to be wearing a lot more than the fronts, and the right front being the least worn because most of the corners, especially the high-speed corners on this track, I'm a little bit gun-shy in this corner now, so bear with me. Most of the high-speed corners on this track are right-handers, so it's going to wear the left sides a lot quicker. I have not. I paid more attention to my temperatures last weekend. Excuse me, Sergey. I need to get through. A little bit of contact. So another one in the 134s. I'm happy with sticking in the 134s. The one complaint I have about this game, and it's only one, is that you can't change ERS modes and engine modes, engine mixes without opening up that little side menu. Although maybe there is a way and I just haven't learned it yet. I'm sure there is, or a way I can map the controls to do it. Okay, I just bumped the right there and it opened up that menu. So if I... No, just anywhere on the directional pad opens up that menu. It doesn't... Oh, audio cut out completely there for a second. Got a Ferrari behind me.
Come in this lap, please. Box this lap.
Will do, sir. I don't know if the track's too busy or they think I'm running out of fuel. I mean, I'm running low on fuel-ish. Yeehaw! Down to 32 mile an hour. But I did it just before I got there. So, let's bring her in and take a look at her. These tires are probably whipped. Gonna have to change the softs to run the rest of the session, or I might just call it a day on this practice session because there's no room for improvement. It'd just be lap after lap after lap of just knowing the circuit, which, judging by how I did last week, might not be a bad idea, actually. Alrighty, no need to look at practice programs because we didn't run one and nothing's changed from them. So let's take a look at times. Still 5th fastest, still 0.951 behind. What's the tire life left? Oh, still 6 laps left on these things. I don't know. One more run on these and then swap over. I mean, there's 20 minutes left after make a flying lap, less than that. And then these got 15 laps left on them. I'm planning on running the race, doing a one-stop strategy. Is the plan. And then run soft and medium for the race. So I might want to get some laps in on softs, especially worn softs, because I'm going to be running the softs to their max. Because the race is, I believe, 51 laps. Something like that. I'll actually Google that really quick. Try and do two things at once. How many laps is how many laps Bahrain F1? $57 laps, and these will run 38 laps. These will run 30 laps. That's more than 57 if you couldn't tell. It's in fact 68, so 11 laps extra. We didn't even know you left. So yeah, I'm planning on running the soft and medium, just do a one-stop strategy on the race. I mean, starting on super softs would be a good idea to get, you know, the extra time. But a one-stop strategy, super softs onto mediums, would work. But it would put me at the limit of each tire. But that might be a good idea. Oh, you're going to mess with your brakes today? What are you planning on doing with your brakes? Checking to see where the leak is? Yeah, I'm going to run these super softs out. 6 laps. Make sure we get enough. I think they put enough in for 6 laps at least.
All set. Everyone clear? Car to track.
Well, that's good. Try and find the leak. If you do find it and it's not a long section of line that's blown out, that's the best case scenario. Well, just putting more fluid in is not going to make it drivable. Let me just tell you that right now. The way your brakes are, putting more fluid in is not going to make it drivable. It's just going to keep it from getting worse. As far as sitting there until you get it fixed. It's going to keep everything wet and pliable and not dry out. So 6 more laps on these tires. I think that includes out laps. Six more laps on these tires would put it at a lap something or other. Sliding out like that's going to put more wear on them. Again. And here comes Alonso. Going around, buddy. Or don't. Better be nice to my teammate. And not ruin his flying lap. What's the for there, Lucky? Ooh, bottoming out. See, turns like that really wear these tires down. Especially that back left. I am wondering why the hell my audio's messing up so much. It is buffering in my ears so dang much. I must have a loose connection somewhere. I mean, the way these headphones work, they plug into the back of the controller. That's 2 laps in a row in the same corner. And that's the 3rd time spinning out in turn 12. I'd say these tires are whipped. But that's the only turn that's been affected by it. But if I'm going to do the one-stop strategy and I'm going to run super softs and mediums, I'm going to have to run these things to the max in the race. So I might as well get used to how to control this thing when it's out of tires. Vehicle condition.
The tyres are starting to fall off. Adjust pace accordingly. Degradation is pretty bad. The grip is going to fall away quickly.
Yeah, he just confirmed what I said. I didn't know if he was going to say something like, "We recommend you come into pit." A little bit of modulation on the throttle. Well, I guess Lucky left again, because she hasn't said anything. See if we can't hold this thing on the track this lap. Well, not my fastest time through there, but still surviving, which is nice. Basically, I'm going to still say a go on the one-stop strategy, as long as I can survive another 3 laps on these tires. But yeah, you can see they degrade a lot quicker. Last lap time.
The time last lap was a 1:36.2.
So 4 seconds off my fastest pace, 2 seconds off my normal race pace on these worn tires, but I kept it out of the wall. In 2 seconds a lap on this old of tires, I'll take it. Keeping from spinning out. Like that was really close to spin out. Okay, so running these things all the way to their limit might not be justifiable in the race. We might have to go to a 2-stop strategy or just run softs and mediums instead of super softs and mediums, but that means we won't get the launch off the line in the first couple laps to get through the early positions. But doing 1 stop fewer than anybody else will put us about 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds ahead of where we would be. Especially because you have human error factored into pit stops. Not only the pit crew, but me getting onto and off of the pit lane. And that's one less pit stop, is one less chance to mess up braking zone into it, or release from the pit box itself. So maybe the one-stop strategy is the way to go, no matter what compounds we run. And you can look at these tires, and you can see they're starting to gloss over again, which is not good, because that's the end of the tread. And that's the front tires, so I can only imagine what the back tires look like. In fact, down this straightaway, we're going to get a look at them. Oh yeah, they're nice and cooked. Surprised they didn't factor in blisters yet. But I'm sure there would be if they were in the game. So yeah, basically ran about 50% throttle there, I'd say. Maybe 75, I don't know. I wasn't looking at the throttle trace. I was trying to keep it out of the wall. Yeah, I'd say lucky left. Technically, this is the last lap of the life of these tires, and I can feel it. I kind of want to run them till they blow, but I don't exactly want to stuff the thing in the wall because of it. Because I've never blown a tire in this game, knock on wood. And I'm kind of interested as to what happens when it happens. Whoa! There's a puncture. And there's a wall.
Right. Let me know you're all right.
Yeehaw! I looked back at it, and then I got back on the throttle, which was my mistake. You can see it blew there. I pulled to the right, I looked back, I was like, that ain't bad. Got on the gas, boom, into the wall. Well, an overall successful practice session, question mark? Because all we broke was front suspension, that's easy to fix. But it does count as retirement. That is not a completed session, so. And it was close to the end. We got quite a few laps under our belt, more than anybody else on track.
Quick look at the classification at the end of the session then. Here are your top three. Raikkonen, Vettel and Valtteri Bottas.
So Valtteri did jump up there.
Practice session. Let's hope for more excitement as the weekend unfolds.
See if anything that yeah, I'm the only one that got a DNF. But I ran the most stints. I did run the most stints out of anybody, it looks like. Hartley and I tied for that. He ran some mediums. I just ran soft and super soft. That's not going to change the standings. Let's take a look. And if there's an interview, I mean, I did wreck out, so there'll probably be an interview. What happened out there? That's what Claire's going to say. It seems like you ran into some trouble. There she is.
Bad luck out there today. What do you think went wrong?
Everything. Car's a piece of junk.
What went wrong out there?
Felt like something wore out. I'm not sure what. Well, you see, something did wear out, but I do know what, so I'm not going to comment.
You spent a lot of time on the track during practice. Does the car have enough reliability to sustain that?
There we go. That'll bring the power unit department back up.
Thanks anyway.
Yeah, whatever, you fracking dang media person. So I would say it was all in all a good deal. Good practice session. Practice 3 and qualifying will be today after class, so about 7 o'clock maybe. It is Taco Tuesday, so that might come into play. All because... Look, I took a team ranked 7th in power to 5th on the practice timesheet, and all you can look at is the fact that I stuffed it in the wall. I did have my first blowout, though. I'm happy about that. Glad to get that out of the way.
Incident. Glad to see you're no worse for wear. The car took a beating, but I think we can get it fixed up for the next session.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just the front right suspension and the wing, and you can slap a new wing on that thing in 5 seconds. Literally. Well, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you tune back in for practice qualifying tonight, and then the race will be tomorrow night. That's gonna wrap this one up from Bahrain. I will see you next time.